We also drink very well together, and you know, we're not saying we're alcoholics.
Yeah, we're not quite on the Jason Isbell train, the AA.
No yet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hopefully not.
Who's Jason Isbell?
It's the best,
I'm sorry.
best songwriter in the United States.
Oh. Okay,
And,
I'll go back under the rock.
Used to be Drive By Truckers.
And he used to.
Athens.
He quit drinking, and his career just.
That's why we want him in the band, because he doesn't know that.
I have no
because
idea.
he brings stuff that we don't know.
None of us do. Yeah.
To the, in the,
Well, it sounds like the core of the band originally developed from Sasha and his background in
That's
sort of
correct.
gypsy
Yep.
jazz.
That's correct. I think that all of us had that love for gypsy. We just never. I mean, I grew up listening to Stefan Grappelli, you know, as a kid, and I was always fascinated with what he was doing. Of course, I was listening to Django Reinhardt. I don't know, he was the guitarist. I didn't care. But then my thing was the violin. But then as I grew older, I listened to the music, but I was completely intimidated by it. Jared was infatuated with it from the beginning, and of course, Eric too, you know. So the first opportunity we had when he moved to Savannah, we all jump on it,
And
you know.
what about the Robbie Lakatos show? Were you there at the Lucas?
That was
2010.
2010.
Oh, was it 10?
2010,
10?
yeah. Right, it's a Hungarian violinist, Robbie Lakatos. She did a Savannah Music Festival, brought him in.
Yeah, it was
Incredible. He shows up with leather red pants and a
Yeah.
fancy jacket. I mean, he blew my mind. I was,
Gold chains and stuff.
Yeah.
At the same at that time, I was production manager of a music festival. Eric was backline manager, and so we involved with the show. We involved with the musicians from the behind the scenes and all that. It just blew my mind to see a real world class gypsy guy playing, and that was like a year before Sasha moved into town. So.
Yeah, and 2014 we were in France. We actually played where the Django Reinhardt festival, yearly festival in Samoa-sur-Seine. It was Ricardo, Eric, and I, and we actually played on the stage.
Yeah, so it's great to have been exposed through Sasha to do this music and bring in our influences to it and modernize it in a way.
Yeah.
And you see some of the best musicians nowadays, like Gonzalo Vergara, Virelli. So they all came from the tradition of Django Reinhardt, but they're doing their own thing, a modern take on gypsy jazz. And I don't hear anybody that is doing what we're doing, because we're including honky tonk in it. We're including all these cajon sounds in it. These sort of bass lines that are, you can tell they're kind of southern and classical tone that I have with the violin. So it's just rare. And
but at the same time, like I will say, like, not having Sasha being the authentic person that, hey, this is what I came from. It's not like anybody's faking it. We're coming from a real genesis of what should happen, but going beyond it. Because I think if we didn't have Sasha and we just had a jazz guitarist, we'd probably just be playing Duke Ellington, or we'd probably just be doing something else that you hear any night in a restaurant. But I think we're doing something unique because the people we have in the band all come from a very unique perspective and important tradition where they come from. We haven't let go of our roots. All of us are bringing our roots in.
You can't help that anyways. I mean,
I played in other bands and they're like, well, this is how you have to play.
you're-
And then I'll play my parts and I'll be done. I'll get paid. I'm out. See you next year, you know. But with this band, everybody's like, here's where I came from. Where'd you come from? Where do you come from? How do we include that? How do we respect that? And for me, how do I, as a piano player, learn Latin? And I'm learning from Ricardo right now how to not just play the right parts, but have feel the parts. That's different. It's not the notes; it's the feeling.
Mhm.
It's the accents. It's the way that it's like the spice and the food. You know, it's like cooking. I always use cooking as an example with this band because I feel like we're like New Orleans and the jambalaya, the gumbo, because of the spices. But I really believe that because it can't just say, here's the recipe, 1 garlic, 1 onion. It always changes. You should have probably 3 garlics. You should probably have 2 onions. You should probably actually put a lot more hot sauce in there. And that's what we do.
With Latin music, too. I mean, there are about 1 million forms of Latin music. I think every South American country has their own style.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
do.
I mean, that has to do because of the slaves that they came from different parts of Africa into different parts of South America and the Low Country. But the music really developing in South America, different islands and different parts of Venezuela, Cuba, Dominican
It's
Republic.
I'll tell you.
There were all kinds of different people from different parts of Africa that just created that rich sound. Yeah.
And when you bring all of that complexity together,
Mhm.
much of it is rhythmic.
Mhm.
So I could imagine this drives you crazy.
No, I actually love it because it gives me something to do.
Yeah. And let me-
To be honest with you, I mean, I love Afro-Cuban, all types
Me
of different
too.
Latin beats, cascara. I mean, mambo, tango, whatever we bring to the table, bossa nova or samba. The more that we include, the better for me because I can diversify. And with the swing stuff, I love it. I love it very much. But it's a lot of times I need to lay back a little bit, just to fill in the holes and do a swing beat. But with the Latin stuff, I can shine just a little bit.
A lot
on those
more.
tunes, a lot more.
I mean,
so.
when you hear the swing tunes that we do, he's in the background for sure. Every Latin tune, like Margaret, for example, we let him go.
Let's listen to Margaret and that section that you're talking about. This again is from the Acoustic in Nature album.
it's incredible, that this guy is a world famous composer in marimba, and he's sitting on a cajon with us, So that's what we hope that for the future in our new album we can feature him more on different instruments. But in that particular song, Margaret, he just goes to the point that you can see us on stage getting the violin and the bass so he can beat the instrument so he can get more tones out of it,
And also, maybe we should introduce how he started with the cajon at our first gig, just one box, and what it's grown to. What are you playing right now?
Well, first off, describe a cajon.
Cajon is, it just simply means box. It's a Peruvian instrument, and the slaves in Peru used to be outlawed to play any type of musical instrument, so they had shoe boxes, and then when they were actually bringing them off the ships, and they kept them, and they started playing them. Long story short, it's a rectangular box that has a front side that's very, very thin. It has snares inside if you're doing a flamenco style, which like mine is, and you can just get different tones out of it. You can sort of get the sounds out of like you would have in a drum set out of the cajon. And then around that, you just add lots of toys. Yeah. Which I've done.
What are those toys, though?
We've had a boran, which is an Irish drum, a Chinese cymbal, which gives almost like a gong sound or a tam-tam sound, splash cymbal, regular crash cymbals. We have bongos, a djembe that we're going to be adding soon, and we have a doumbek, which is a Middle Eastern drum. And the whole idea I like is about trying to represent different regions of the world and bring that into the band, so that anytime that we go to that area in our musical genre, I have something that's going to be able to represent that to support these guys in what they're doing musically.
So with Ricardo, it's a really interesting interplay because I'm always pushing for Latin American tunes, and they were all the rage in Europe. Me growing up, and I would bring up a tune. And Ricardo would okay, let's do it.
It's like my grandfather's song.
And he plays it, everything's 100%.
Oh,
and he goes, "You happy now?"
Okay. My dad was a professional guitarist, and I used to sit around listening to him in parties at home, playing guitar and singing, and he played a lot of tangos and things like that, and so I listened to him, and he's bringing songs that I used to listen to my father play, and they're in the back of my head. So the reason I say no is because I don't quite remember them, and I hate to play something that I don't know right away. So I feel like I have to
plays them. 100%.
Well, I feel like I have to go home and remember it, and then be okay. I can do it now, but he pushes me to do it, which is great.
Well, that's really interesting because the band member from Central Europe brings then the desire to play the Latin, and the Latin member of the band really wants to do more
European
style.
Well,
Grass is greener.
He wants to learn.
Well, no, it does make sense. I mean, it's like a cultural thing. I mean, I left that country 25 years ago, So for me, it's like, I don't want to go back there, I want to move forward, So it's psychologically might be an issue, but I don't care. I mean, it does remind me of my family. It does remind me of my dad and all that. So I'm good to do it.
Because whenever we start anything like that, Ricardo is it's built in. It's like you turn the app on your iPhone right there.
Another thing for me, when I went to Texas, I was trying to be a musician for rock and singer-songwriters, and I became friends with a guy named Michael Ramos, who is the keyboardist for John Mellencamp, and obviously trying to boost my career and meet people, and come to find out when he's not playing with John Mellencamp, he has his own Latin band, and it's amazing. And so this year, my hope is when we get to South by that I can hook all of us up, because he's got an entire amazing Latin thing going. And this might be the first time I'm admitting this to everybody, but I shied away from it because I'm intimidated by the style, because it seems so complex to me. But there's been a few moments where I've actually felt like I locked in.
You got it.
You do it.
And it's like I'm on space. I'm in this, like when you're on the beach in Tybee and you see the stars.
For those of you listening, we're sitting in a darkened room, sitting in a circle. Does anyone feel like we're at a band therapy?
Oh yeah.
It feels like AA, but we're not.
Take a break.
Except for
We're gonna take a break, Dave.
It's opposite. Opposite of A.
And there's like chips.
Master chess.
You have original tunes as well. What I'm interested to find out is what's the compositional process for those original tunes?
The compositional process, I mean, I'm speaking for myself. When I approach a tune, I think thematically, and I usually put chords below it, and then I start to branch out in terms of structure, like how I actually want the piece to develop, whether it be like if I want it to be a rondo or a different type of piece. And then I bring it to these guys, and then from there, what we do is they take the material that I bring them and they expand on it in their own individual way. Like a tune that we're going to play for you is a tune that actually Jared wrote. I'm not sure about your compositional process. Is it different or is it similar?
Well, my problem is I feel like if I can describe a certain way, it's like hot or cold, extreme or non-extreme. So I feel like with me coming up with this waltz, I feel like at the ultimate it's the tragedy of everything happening in life, like the death, the murders, but also these wonderful things like in light. So when we started working on this tune, they're like, "Oh,
I'm scared."
no, they're like, "Oh, this is like noir. This is like jazz noir." Like, so when I wrote this song, I was thinking a waltz. I was thinking a nice waltz, Viennese or Parisian. Viennese would be more, a little quicker. But I was thinking waltz. But
So he's like waltz noir.
I always say it sounds like it should have been in The Shining.
Yeah. And this is what we hope to do with this particular tune that is called Waltz Noir, and we're working on it. We still haven't really performed it. It's going to be in our next album.
so I came up with this quick line. And then a sixth.
Beautiful.
And then pretty soon the band, I brought that to the band and they're like, "Oh, let's try this." And then Ricardo and Sasha, everybody came up with their own lines.
Doesn't that sound like somebody getting stabbed?
But no, after somebody got stabbed.
Yeah, after they're stabbed. They're like sitting there with a knife in their chest.
Because it's a song in a minor key, but it feels major sometimes. It's a sadder feeling, but sometimes it feels happier. So it takes you back and forth,
Yeah, so he brought that first part of it, and then we were like, "Oh, well, that's not enough. We got to take it somewhere else." So we collaborated into this other section, which is a happier section. It's just
You want to play that part like the separate?
Yeah. So it goes to a happy place. It's like there's a light after the whole.
Then it's just
But
back
then
to
there's this huge
darkness.
contrast that we went to, like this was it the A flat?
Yeah, that's where it gets dark again.
Dark
Yeah.
again. Then you start utilizing things. That's why I bring things like the Chinese, the symbol. It sounds like a tam tam, where you have this sort of
We did two together.
loud, sort of like this loud expanse that sounds dark and menacing. So you can create that character, the difference in character.
We love to play it, but before we play it, we've been playing it maybe two times before today. But Sasha and I keep forgetting this one line, so if you don't mind, we're just gonna go over it really quick.
You guys want to work that out?
Yeah, we'll just yeah. You do that and I'll do this, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Okay, let's one more time.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Good. And then there's that transition to the E flat major part. That is okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on, what was that? E flat to what? B flat?
E flat, B flat. It's
I'm just holding the B flat on.
You hold the B flat.
Yeah, yeah. It just doesn't sound right when I hold the B flat though.
It sounds beautiful when you hold the B flat.
All right.
It's very
So you're grounded.
too beautiful.
You know,
you can't understand. You're very smart.
No.
You're still developing.
No, still.
Okay, so we'll start with Jesse setting up the rhythm here.
Okay.
It's setting up the landscape, and we'll start.
Go. One,
Alright?
2, 3, 1, 2. He's gonna do that.
Yeah, he'll do it. Nice, yeah. Our first album, Acoustic by Nature, we basically sat in for 3 nights at the Lucas Theater and just recorded with non-stopping tracks, you know? So it's one take. The ones that we want to do next, we want to include other musicians in the album too. We want to do a little bit more, a brass section in some of the songs. And we want to do some string sections in some of the songs, you know.
And some rap artists.
Should we play another? It's another new tune that we're working on. This is another song that Sasha brought in. We don't have a name for it, but it's gonna be in the new album. This is the most on gypsy jazz I've seen Sasha write a tune, and I love it. And I think it's gonna turn out to be a really good tune once we figure out what to do with it. So this is the very skeleton of the tune. know how to finish a song.
What's it's not
This
done
one
yet.
is pretty new.
Right, yeah, no.
Let's try that again.
Did you work on these in performance, or do you work it all the way through before you take it to performance?
Really, I think we finish our songs on a performance. So that's why the new challenge with our new album is that we want to come to an album with this full song well thought out instead of building it on stage, because we really feed from playing in front of people. That's the way we've always done it. So it's hard to be very technical about a tune.
Well, I want to thank the Velvet Caravan for being part of this show. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks for having us,
Thank you,
Dave.
David.
Thank you, Dave.
This has been another edition of Music Local and Sustainable, and I've been your host, Dave Lake.
Well, I know we ain't headed for the